Thanks. Yeah, as I just said, my name is Philip. I'm the CTO of Umbraco, and it is just a great time to be working with Umbraco. Of course, as Arnold said, I would have loved to join you all in Holland, but since it's only 4 people in the studio, that wouldn't really make a lot of sense. But I really hope that next year we're able to meet in person, and I can, high five everybody, and we can have some of that sidetrack chat that we all like about conferences. But I thought I would take this opportunity to go through some highlights of the last year in Umbraco with you, and I brought along Bjarke, who's the team lead and tech lead for Umbraco 9, to tell us a little more in depth about the new product. So stay tuned for that in a little bit. Of course, it would be weird to not start out with mentioning Umbraco 9. This was a huge effort in the community, in HQ, from Bjarke and his team and everyone. This was a huge thing, and we've been working on it for years, and it was so awesome to finally get it out. And Umbraco 9, we've had more than 65,000. I think this number is probably a little bit higher now even. Installs of Umbraco. So this is not downloads or anything that a machine could do. This is actually installing Umbraco and trying it out. So that's super cool, and it really shows that there's a demand. There's people who are excited about Umbraco and excited about .NET Core or .NET 5, and seeing them work together is just fantastic. We've started more than 500 projects in cloud on Umbraco 9 since the launch, and we're really happy with that as well. It is exciting to see that people really want to try it out, and I mean, cloud is the easiest way to get started, where you don't have to set anything up by yourself. You just click a button. I guess a little bit of the magic goes out of it as well, because as you know, the back office is the same. So you just get the Umbraco that you know and love, and runs a little bit faster until you actually start diving into the code and seeing all the changes. And of course, Umbraco is a vibrant community, more vibrant than ever, maybe in these times where we can't meet as much as we used to do. Like we've really seen the community, stand together and work on stuff. We've seen lots of community-driven events and hackathons and working together on this or that. And it's been really great to see. It really, makes me happy to see that there's a community. It's not just people from HQ that works on stuff, but there's so many of us out there. And I've been especially excited to see some of the meetups that have gone from being a local group somewhere to having a global audience, and still having their welcoming spirit of sharing and talking to everybody. And I think that's really been awesome to see. Of course, we've seen lots of festivals and partners, and we've started doing some stuff again in person, and it seems like we'll be taking a break from that again now, unfortunately. But we really look forward to, and I really look forward to meeting people in real life again. This year we had 17 new MVPs with 45 renewed, meaning that we're now more than 60 MVPs worldwide of Umbraco, and that just again really shows that there's an uptake of Umbraco. People want to use this and is excited about it, and it's not just as a standalone commercial thing. It's also the community part, where the MVPs of course play a super important role. We have now 156, I think actually is the right number, I got it this morning, gold partners of Umbraco, and more than 20 of them are new ones. So that's really exciting again to see that there's more and more agencies also follow the trend and wants to work with Umbraco. And of this, we this year have 36 contributing gold partners. And it's just, there's so many now that I can't fit them all in a slide, but it's just, you know who you are out there, and I'm super thankful for all the work that you put in, that you let your people spend their time on when they work. If you organize meetups or festivals, or however you contribute to Umbraco, thank you so much. You are the core, and we are really excited about this. And for those of you not ready with that badge, this is something you can get if you're a gold partner. So if you're interested, you should reach out to your partner manager and I believe to most of you that will be Arnold. So talk to him and he'll tell you all about how to become a contributing gold partner. We had Hacktoberfest recently with 244 high-quality PRs. We've seen a change in the pull requests in the fact that they're more high quality. They're less fixing a comma or changing some grammar somewhere. And this year we've seen practically no spam during Hacktoberfest. So that's also a really good progress on that. And I really like that from an organizational standpoint, from HQ, we're now at a place where we were actually able to merge more than half of the ones that were targeting CMS. We were able to merge them into the 9.1 release that was released in the middle of November. So less than 2 weeks after Hacktoberfest was over, we already had merged half of the PRs. So I think that's really good. There's now 104 people at HQ. So HQ continues to grow, and so does D team. We have 35 people in D team. If you count a couple of people that starts in January and February, the head count is actually 38. So it's been a pretty tremendous growth, not only for the company but also for D team, the development team specifically. And it's really nice that. Even though, of course, we've changed owners this year, I'll come back to that in a little bit. We're continuing to invest into the product, and we know that that's the important part of the business. We've had 1,300 certifications so far. I think I actually saw some updated numbers recently, and I think we're actually we're above 1,500 now. So that's really good. And again, it shows that there's a demand for Umbraco out there. There's a demand for developers who knows what they're doing and who knows what they're working on. So really an uplifting number as well. And of course, this year we had our first virtual code garden. And I was really excited. I mean, of course, it was nice that we could have more people involved than we normally do, because it was free and available everywhere in the world. You didn't have to come to Odense for it. But I think I was really happy that even though it was a stream, it was not just passive viewers. This was active community members, active participants of the conference, and I think that was really nice. When I compare Code Garden to lots of other conferences that I've attended virtually, I think it was significant again that people were just interacting with the Code Garden bar, in the chat. There was lots of stuff going on Twitter as well, and I was really uplifted by that. So thanks to all of you who participated. And I'm super excited to say that we will do some kind of hybrid event, COVID permitting, of course. In 2022. None of the details are spec'd out yet. Arnold is probably your local guy go-to guy for all the rumors. But we will have some kind of a hybrid event. We really like that we were able to reach more people, and we want to keep that perspective. But we don't want to, not meet. We want to still be together and spend time on the hallways as well. So look forward to that. And I mean, we have 5 active community teams in Umbraco HQ. If you don't know, the community teams are like a little bit more of a dedicated way of being part of the community. So these are volunteers that apply and become part of an official team that works on an official area. With some goals, and there's a steward at HQ that helps the team and provides for them, and we're really excited about this. We hope to grow this even more. And for those of you who've heard of this before, you'll see that the Unicore team is no longer on here. Bjarke's team that led the Umbraco 9, all the work on Umbraco 9, is no longer on here, and exactly for that reason, because Umbraco 9, Umbraco on .NET Core is out now. And of course, we're looking into how do we continue to get community feedback in this more committed way or dedicated way through some kind of community team. And this year, we've done 32 CMS releases for Umbraco 7, 8, and 9. Of course, most of them were for 8. Because 8 was the major that was here for the most of the year. I think we've had a couple of patches for 7 and 9, of course, also now has taken over. we've had more than 40 releases of Umbraco Form, and if you've been following along with Forms, or if you've been using Forms for the last couple of years, you probably have noticed a big quality uptake or change in the product. This was one of the areas that we chose to invest in, making a dedicated team that works on Forms and deploy, works on all of our commercial packages, and it's been really good to see what an investment can do to a product that has lots of potential, but maybe hasn't had enough love before now. Of course, to be fair, I think almost half of the releases for Forms were actually the same security release that we rolled out over a ton of old versions of Forms, because we wanted to keep everyone safe when we encountered an issue that, even though we didn't have any reports on anybody actually exploiting it, we still wanted to make sure that you were safe when you were using Umbraco, so that you didn't have to do any upgrades that would potentially break anything, but it would just be available for you. And of course, in cloud, we were able to auto upgrade and make everybody safe at the same time, or at the time of the release. So lots of great updates from the last year. Let's talk a little bit about Umbraco. When we talk about Umbraco, we kind of see it as these three things in combinations. Like, it's the product, it's the community, and it's the company. And if you were with us this summer, Kim walked through the timeline of Umbraco, where we went from being Niels Hartvig in a basement, being sick of alternative CMS, all the way up to releasing Umbraco as open source, bringing on the first employees, building an active community of contributors, the first code garden, and being able to actually start building a company. And then you saw Kim talk about this third phase, that is a phase of growth, and where we take off and internationalize some more. And we do that with help from our new owners, Montero of Sweden. And if you haven't heard, Montero is a private equity fund, and they have lots of interesting experience. So it's not just money; it's what you call smart money. It's money that actually can help us. It's people that can help us take the next step from Umbraco. And a lot of people have been asking me, is this a game changer? And at the same time, I can say no and yes. And it is. I'm so happy that I'm able to say the same on camera as I say off camera when I talk to people from the community or people here at HQ. I really think this is a good thing for Umbraco. It is a great step for us. It's not going to change anything overnight. Of course, it's going to qualify our decisions. It's going to help us make better decisions. It's going to give us some experience that we otherwise wouldn't have. But at the end of the day, this is an investor, and they've purchased a company that has more or less no intellectual property. The value of Umbraco is the open source project and the community. It's all of us here. Which means that it would totally not make any sense for their investment to mess with that. So I would say, don't worry about this. Be happy about this. This will allow us to grow a little faster, to maybe hire people a little bit before we normally would. And I think this is generally a good thing. And of course, as we talked about in the intro, I joined as CTO a couple of months ago after some more time when I was in charge of the CMS. I've been a developer for many years, and I stepped over to management, and this is a huge opportunity for me, and I'm super happy and humble to join you all here in the community. I want to also just say thank you for those of you who I've talked to. I've had nothing but a positive welcome. So me as the CTO, I wanted to just also here publicly in front of everybody. I shared this internally, but I wanted to also share it here. My 5 bullets of how I want to run Umbraco and how I want to run the products. And the first one is happy people. People is the most important thing that we have. We need our people to be happy. We need our people to be, being challenged at work, having fun, and growing along with it. So that is number one priority for me. Then, of course, it's great products. At the core of everything is, of course, the CMS, but all the products around it, the cloud products, forms and deploy, all the things that we have on our portfolio, we want them to be super great. And of course, nothing makes any nothing has any value if it doesn't work. Like, we need the operations to be super stable and rock solid. And part of my job as well is to engage with all of you out there. Being engaged with the community is super important to me. This is where I get all the feedback that I need in order to make the right decisions for Umbraco. And then being transparent in how we run the company, how we run the products, what decisions we make, what decisions we are looking at making. We want to be as transparent as we possibly can about this. So this is my commitment to all of you out there, that this is what I'm spending my time on. In lots of changes, it's of course super important that we continue to stay true to our values. Our values won't change. They continue to be these 5. I think the most significant change you will see with new owners, with me as the CTO, is a little bit more of a focus on product management, putting the customer, that being you or that being your end customer, in the center of how we run product development. We want to take more feedback. We want to listen more to what you think is important to our products. Because at the end of the day, if no one uses the product, it doesn't really make any sense. And during all of this, staying transparent about, as I said, what we want to change, how we want to change it, so that you know what to expect from Umbraco. Of course, stay open source forever. And now that we talk about open source, I like to think of open source as transparency and contributions that come together. So contributions is when you commit code, of course, obviously, but just as much when you submit an issue or a comment on a PR or anything like that. We count that all as contributions, and it's super important to us and to the products. And as I've already talked to a couple of times, transparency is just super important in how we run this. And talking about open source, a couple of weeks ago, we launched a new initiative to start supporting sustainability in open source. We don't want to, pay for open source, but we want to make it so that open source is not something you do, where it takes away time from your loved ones, from friends and family, and it's something that you need to do in the middle of the night or in the weekends. Like, we want this to be sustainable for everybody, because that's how we make great products. It's how we make great open source. For some, like us, we have a business model around it, and that's how that's how our business runs. That's how our open source project runs. But for some, there's no business model around it. It's volunteer work, and we want to just give a little bit back. So we announced that we've selected 3 projects to get started, that we will over the next 12 months that we will support, I think, with $100 a month. So this is not something you become rich of, but this is just our way of saying thank you and saying we appreciate your work, and maybe that will buy you a nice dinner with your loved ones, or it will buy you a vacation day every once in a while. So we've chosen to sponsor Examine. As you know, it's a central product in Umbraco. The 6 labors teams that works on the image processing for Umbraco 8 and 9, and Rebus, a queuing system, or whatever you call it. That's probably not the right term, but that we heavily rely on in the cloud, and that we're also just very happy consumers of. Now let's talk a little bit about Umbraco 9. And before I hand it over to Bjarke, I just want to point to Umbraco 9 as a historic release. Like, this was really a release where we managed to be transparent through all of the process. If you were following along, there shouldn't be any surprises to you. There were lots of lots of pre-releases, lots of alphas and betas and release candidates. And through all of this, everybody was kept in the loop of what the next step would be, when we anticipated it would be. And I'm just really proud of Bjarke and the team to be able to run this entire process. And also in transparency terms, like working with our RFCs, our requests for comments, where when we were proposing bigger changes to Umbraco, we would do RFCs, we would describe what we wanted to do and take feedback, and always the feedback makes the decision better. So we're really happy about the release, and it is really like a beginning or a new predictability era from Umbraco. We want to be a software vendor, an open source project that you can depend on, where you know what happens and when it happens. So that's why about a year ago, I think actually at DrukFest, we announced that we would start adhering to semantic versioning from Umbraco 9. We would start doing releases on a cadence, so you would always know exactly when a release was due. And we've been doing that for about a year, and I'm just very excited about it. It works out really well. People have been embracing it, and doing lots of smaller releases just makes the world a better place for everybody. It's easier for you because the changes are smaller, so the upgrades are super easy. It's easier for us because we don't have to wait for a feature to be done before we ship. We ship every 6 weeks. And a feature is in the release after the next release after it's done. So we think this is a really good way of doing it. And also part of this was the long-term support that we announced that will be every fourth major of Umbraco will be long-term supported, and we're aligning that with the .NET version, so that whenever there's a .NET version that's LTS, the next Umbraco version that works with that is also going to be LTS. So that will allow us to continue to elaborate fast and iterate fast on our product, while still for the products where you can't update or don't have the time to update, you can actually stay safe and secure for 2 years, where we fix everything, and for an additional year on top of what Microsoft gives you, also have an additional year of security issue fixes. And with that, I think I will, I should mention Umbraco 8 before we end, or before I hand it over to Bjarke, that Umbraco 8, we are planning on doing one more release, one more minor release for Umbraco 8. So we will have 8.18, that will be the final one. We will also consider that one LTS and support that for 2+1 years. And that will be out when it's ready. And the reason why I say that kind of vaguely is because there's lots of community PRs that we just don't want to drop, but that we want to either help bring up to 9 or qualify or eventually get it merged. So when all of that job is done, we will ship the last minor version of Umbraco 8. And for those of you who are on a project that can't upgrade, this is LTS, as I said, so you can stay on that and be safe and secure. And with that, I think I will turn it over to Bjarke to give us a little bit more of a technical update on Umbraco 9.
Yes, thank you, Philip. Let's look into it. So Umbraco 9 is all the Umbraco you know, but just on .NET 5 now. So let's look into .NET 5 and the new .NET 6 long-term support, which was shipped early in November this year. First of all, this release or this platform is cross-platform, so you can now develop Umbraco on Linux, Mac, and of course Windows as always. You can also host, but it's not officially supported. So if you find any issues, just report it on the tracker. We want to fix it, but it's not officially supported yet. Some of the new cool things on .NET 5 is the support of C#9. You have new features like records, init-only setters, which is very useful for not having to specify all the properties in your constructors and still being able to have them immutable. Also, pattern matching is enhanced, so now you can use this not, which makes the code even easier to read. .NET 6 also supports the new version 10 of C#. Here you have, again, new cool features like constant string interpolation, so you don't have to repeat your strings. You have global usings, which is very useful because in most cases we import the same 10 using statements. So this is just boilerplate in all files. And same goes for the file scope namespaces. Instead of indenting your entire file with that namespace, you can just specify namespace, the namespace name and a semicolon, and then you have the entire file in that namespace. Again, small features that is just makes working with Umbraco and working with .NET even nicer. The best thing about .NET 5 and 6 is the performance improvements. There's a lot of performance improvements, especially compared to .NET Framework. Most of these are related to very low-level optimizations for string optimizations, but by the end of the day, writing a website is just string manipulation of the HTML. But even between 5 and 6, they found even more performance improvements in such a common scenario as parsing GUIDs, which is super cool. So the big thing in .NET, the big thing in Umbraco 9 is actually not the change to .NET, but the change of the web framework to .NET or ASP.NET Core. So this is the new modern web framework from Microsoft. Yeah, it's around 5 years old, but it's new for the Umbraco community. It's not tightly coupled to the .NET framework version anymore, so you can use it with .NET 5 or .NET 6. Basically, the web framework is just NuGet dependencies. It's also not tightly coupled to the web server anymore, to IIS. Instead, ASP.NET Core has a built-in web server named Kestrel. It has all the features we need, but this loose coupling to IIS is actually also one of the main reasons or root causes to all the issues we had migrating Umbraco 9, because we can't reboot now and then. And it's fairly easy to follow a request now. We have something called a middleware pipeline. This is known from the OWIN project, but you execute a series of middlewares. At some point you find a terminating middleware, a middleware that could handle the request. It could be Umbraco founding a controller, or it could be founding a static file on the disk, and then we return the request and execute the middlewares again backwards. Another cool thing is that the MVC pattern and the web API pattern is now merged into one pattern. This means a lot of duplicate code is now eliminated in Umbraco, because we don't have to have an MVC version of all filters and base controllers and a web API version. What I like the most is that dependency injection is everywhere now. So the DI pattern is built into the framework, and you can now inject your services or your interfaces into views and attributes like you could in constructors already. So this just makes it super easy to use. One of the biggest changes for existing Umbraco users will be view components. So this replaces the concepts of child actions, but in theory it's not that different. But instead of having your child actions inside of your controllers, you need to have a new class called a view component. And again, this is basically just performance optimizations, because we don't have to do all the routing stuff when it's a view component. There's also new features named check helpers, which is an alternative to the IHtmlHelper. So you can, in this example, I use the form tag helper, where I can specify ASP controller and specify the demo controller and ASP action and the register. Otherwise, it's just HTML. But this is handled on the server, and when it reaches the browser, it will be like below. So the action is specified, and actually also in this case, an active forgery token is added. But there's a series of good tag helpers out there if you prefer that kind of coding compared to the HTMLHelper. Now also precompiled views is actually default in ASP.NET Core, which is super cool. For CMS, we still need runtime compiled views. So by default, the precompiled views only benefit us by you have the security that you don't break anything in your views, which is also super cool. One thing that is also changed is the install process, which in my opinion is actually to the better, but this is due to the new NuGet version. So to get started with Umbraco now, all you need is basically to download the .NET SDK. You can do that from .NET. You have to install the Umbraco templates. You can do that using the command .NET new --install and Umbraco templates, and then you can create solutions. So we ship with two templates, one called .NET New Umbraco and another one called .NET New Umbraco Package. So the Umbraco one is an Umbraco solution, and the other one is a starting point if you want to create packages to Umbraco 9. The cool thing about this is it's available in the CLI. You can, or Visual Studio and Writer picks them up. So it makes it super easy to get started. One thing you will notify is that the project structure has changed a bit to try to align with what a default ASP.NET Core project would look like. So first of all, the CS project file is now in the new SDK format, which is actually pretty cool, because if you work many people on the same project, you won't have that many dependency issues or merge conflicts, because all files is not specified anymore. And now all the NuGet dependencies are handled inside that file. You'll also notify that the Umbraco folder from 8 is now called www.root /Umbraco. This is all the files that are static files in the browser. The app data is now called Umbraco. The global ASAX is now called program, which is still the entry point of the application. The configuration is now in the app settings.json. So instead of XML, we now use JSON, which is also the best practice in ASP.NET Core. And then you have the startup file, which is where you specify all the pipeline stuff and specify that you want to use Umbraco. So instead of having our own abstractions for the most common scenarios, we actually adopted Microsoft's abstractions. The first one is logging. So instead of using an interface defined by Umbraco, we just use the native built-in Microsoft abstraction. What you would have to do instead is, instead of injecting iLogger, you need to inject iLogger of the generic type. And then every time you need to log a message, instead of specifying the type at that point, you can just do it like log the information or the warning or debug or whatever. As I touched a bit on, configuration is now in JSON files. So this code example is actually not from Umbraco. This is from .NET itself, which is also open source. But it just shows how configurations are read. Because instead of transforming files for each environment, we now read from multiple sources. By default, we just use the default also. You will read from appsettings.json. And if you have a file called appsettings.the environment name, so appsettings.development.json, or appsettings.production.json, which is the default, it will override all the information if keys are repeated. On the development, it then reads from user secrets, which is the recommended location to store all your user secrets like passwords and stuff. Then it reads from environment variables, which is the recommended way to store secrets in production. And finally, it reads from command line. Then when you need to use your configurations, you can do it like this code example, where you have a strongly typed class called mySettings, and you bind all the configurations from the configuration sources into that POGO, and then you can inject it using the options pattern. In this case, I use iOptions of my settings and inject it, and then it's available. Because all configuration settings is moved in Umbraco 9, we have created an JSON schema to make it easier to find the new locations of documentation or of configuration. And as you can see in this example, it works in most modern IDEs. You will have IntelliSense where you can get all the predefined values. Again, dependency injection is native now in ASP.NET Core, and therefore we also used or decided to use Microsoft abstractions. So now it's called add transient, add scoped, add singleton, and we have the iService collection, which is from Microsoft. And this is super cool because all NuGet packages out there, not only Umbraco packages, but all NuGet packages almost uses the pattern where they add extension methods to this common interface. So it's super easy to add other packages. For the Umbraco composer pattern, this means the composition is now replaced by an iUmbraco builder. On that builder, you have access to services, which is the iService collection. But otherwise, we have migrated all our extension methods, like with collection builders and so on, components, so you can add it. So the composers looks fairly similar. One thing to note is that composers is executed no matter the runtime state. This is again back to not the tight coupling to IIS, because we can't reboot. We need to know all services, even in the install state. Another thing that is affected by not being able to restart or reboot is packages. So from Umbraco 9 on, all packages need to be NuGet packages. The old package format still had some very good use cases, especially when you use backoffice to create a package. So we kept these things. In the package section, you can still create a package, which we call a package schema. You can add content and you can add media. We did some improvements to this area. So when you choose media, we actually also bundle the physical file. You can download this package schema and you can add it in a migration plan. So we added a new concept called package migrations. This is an example of how to use a manual package migration plan. You need to specify a unique name and then define the plan where you execute a series of migrations. In this case, we just execute my custom migration. The migrations can be both the regular migration base or a new package migration base. The only real difference is that in the package migration base, you have access to the import package, where we have helpful methods for you to embed, to get the package schema from an embedded file. So all you need to do is to locate the file you downloaded from backoffice in the same namespace, which will be the same folder as this migration, and then embed it. If you have a super simple package, we also added an automatic package migration plan, where all you need to do is to specify the name and then embed the file in the same folder. By default, package migrations are executed unattended, but you can, on a project level, turn it off. So you need to do it attended. To do this, you go to the package section and the installed tab or content app, and then you can execute the migrations from each of the packages. We also have to talk about Umbraco Cloud, because for Umbraco 9, we actually have a completely new developer experience. So, of course, Umbraco 9 will be the default when you create new projects. But you will notice that the project is super clean now. No more uaas.cmd tool to reverse engineer the build output into a solution file again. Instead, the repository contains the CS project file, and Umbraco Cloud builds and publish this directly for you. So you'll notice this is the file structure, and this is basically the same look as if you did it using the template, but there's a few more files. We have an .umbraco file, which is handled by the Umbraco Cloud. There's an Umbraco Cloud.json, which is handled by Umbraco Cloud. And then we have the app settings.json and all the environments, so development, staging, and production. And we have predefined some configurations in there to use blob storage and so on. You also have the licenses for deploy and forms. Then what's next? The next thing for 9, which will be shipped in 9.2, is package telemetry. So we want to have a way to get a better number of how many downloads of packages there is, because there is no good way today. Some people are using the numbers from NuGet, which is not really reliable because build servers download the NuGet package on each build and so on. Others are using the numbers from our, which is also not a really good number. So instead we want to on each solution, post if a package is used. And this will be the default behavior, but packages can opt out if they don't want to have the name tracked, or they can opt in to also track a version number. Next, we want to look into even more member improvements. 9.2 will already contain some member improvements, but in the longer run, we want to make it easier to do external member logins using social media, for example. Of course, the last features from 8 will be merged into 9 if they're non-breaking, which we hope we can do them. Otherwise, they will go directly into Umbraco 10. And let's talk about Umbraco 10 because it's not that far away with the new release schedule. We expect to ship Umbraco 10 in May next year. And we have 2 features lined up. The first one will be a cross-platform embedded database as an alternative to SQL Compact Edition, which is already out of support. And we will look into using SQLite. It's still early days. We don't really know what issues we will reach or hit, but this is our intention. And then we want to look into nullable reference types, which is a new way to make your APIs even more predictable. And actually also it gives you a lot of warnings so you avoid common null reference exceptions. And then I will give it back to Philip.
Thank you, Bjarke. Yeah, Umbraco 9 is pretty great. I am super excited about the future of our products, and I want to just point and give praise back to the community team, and Bjarke and his team, and all of the people at HQ. This was really a huge effort. Bjarke's team, of course, the Unicore team, the community team, especially, they really helped us shape the product, shape Umbraco 9 into what it is today. We had more than 120 contributors, more than 1,200 different contributions from Umbraco 9. And we've actually had more than 30,000 pre-release installs. So I showed you a big number in the beginning of actual installs of Umbraco, and a lot of these were actually even before we released it. And not only does it show that people are really hungry and want to play with the new and shiny, this also shows that there's a community out there that's committed, that wants to help us make great products. And that made it so that version 9.0 was super stable and super ready to actually be used in production from day one. So we were really excited about this. We're at a good place with documentation. A lot of most of the most popular packages from Umbraco 8 has been migrated over to 9, and that of course also includes our own packages. Umbraco Forms, as I said, with a now dedicated team. And a new roadmap of lots of cool features that they're adding, and the same goes for Umbraco Deploy, also available from day one for Umbraco 9 as well. And with the help of Andy and his team, we'll really see both these products, continue to move forward. Bjarke already talked about Umbraco 9 in cloud. This is really a game changer for cloud as well. And I just want to, say, if you haven't tried Umbraco 9 on cloud, you really should. It's a fantastic experience, and cloud takes care of all the maintenance for you, all the upgrades as they come out of HQ are automatically rolled onto your solutions in cloud, and it just works. We want cloud to be the best place in the world to run Umbraco, and as you may know, over the last year, we've migrated people into a new infrastructure on cloud, and cloud has come to a super good place when it comes to hardware, software. Like it is in a really good spot. And when we talk about cloud, like we know that reliability is super important. As I was saying in the beginning, if it's not up, it doesn't really matter. And I'm super happy to see that with our new cloud infrastructure, we've been able to, whenever there is an incident, there will always be somebody, tripping over a wire or a hard drive, failing somewhere. Our resolution time on the new infrastructure is a lot shorter, and instead of hitting a big portion of sites, we only hit small portions of sites. So overall, a big change from Umbraco Cloud. In terms of reliability, but also in developer experience. And I think this is one of the areas that we want to focus on in the next time, or in the coming time, is to make Umbraco Cloud even better for you as a developer. We want to take more of the tedious works, the manual work that goes into running as a website today, and make it automatic, make it easy for you, make it out of the box in Umbraco Cloud. Lots of this, as I said, is already there, but we will continue to make it better and easier for you to run your project on Umbraco Cloud. And as I said, we want your feedback. I want to invite myself to come visit you, hopefully in Q1, COVID permitting. If you want to have me over for a visit, tell me what would make cloud great for you, what would make CMS even better for you, what would make forms deploy any of our products, how do we make a product that's even better for you. Then fill out a form, it's on this link, and I will be looking forward to actually coming and meeting you in person. I'm planning a tour sometime in Q1 when we hopefully open up again to visit our main markets, which is UK, Nordics, Benelux, and of course US. Looking at Umbraco overall, I feel like we've walked up a mountain. We've had some mandatory projects, some things that we needed to do, and we're at almost at the summit now, where we can look out, we can look over, and there's just a big horizon of opportunities for us out there. And I think this is fantastic. I think the last product that we have that we need on this list is the new back office. We've introduced this plan, a 3-step plan for building a new back office, where the first one is a UI library. The second part is defining the extension API for back office. And then the third part is actually rebuilding it. We're investing here as well, adding more people to the team. Front end used to be just Niels Lyngsø at HQ about a year ago. He was the only one. And now there's, I think, 5 people on the team from January. So a big investment from us, and we're really excited to bring this forward. As I said, the UI library is actually already available today. I won't steal the thunder from Niels and Julia. You should go see their talk. I think it's the one right after this one. It's pretty great, and they show off lots of the points of the new UI library and the new back office. But for Umbraco, the way our mission or what we want to do on a product side is continue to be the editor's preferred CMS and the developer's preferred CMS. This has always been the two kind of sides of our success of how we did product, and we are committed to continue walking on both legs, so to say. We want to make sure that Umbraco continues to be friendly, not only in the community side, but also in the product, that it's easy to get started, that the documentation is really good, that the barrier of entry is low, and to some of those parts, I think the solution might be Umbraco Cloud, because we can't put everything in the CMS for technical reasons. But I really think that there's still lots of improvements, or room for lots of improvements in the CMS itself as well. We will continue to add more and more enterprise features. I think we will see Umbraco become even more relevant for projects of a little bit bigger scale than usual. And this means more dedicated options in cloud and more scaling options, more flexibility in how you want to run your environment setup and stuff like this. This is all features that are planned and in our roadmap for the coming years. And for the CMS, of course, the block-based grid is something that we've been talking a lot about and a lot about recently again. This is something that we want to bring more fine-grained permissions as well, so that you can have editors that only have access to a certain variant or country or language, or in general making it more cloud native, making it more enterprise friendly. And this is, of course, editor features, editor facing features, most of them. Privacy, of course, is also a big thing out there. We want to make sure that privacy is not a liability, but instead an asset for Umbraco. This is something you choose Umbraco for. And 2 weeks ago at our company day here at Umbraco, we had a security expert give us a lay of the land of security out there for us and our competitors. And I was really happy that he said that that their red team, the team that emulates attackers, they really don't like Umbraco because Umbraco is pretty safe. If you configure it correct and you take care of what packages you install, Umbraco is a super safe platform to be on, and we're really proud of that. And we'll continue to work on that, continue to invest in that again. You can expect to see a job opening on this very shortly. This, of course, also means having more control over your data, where your data lives in the cloud platform. Part of this is, opening more data centers to Umbraco Cloud, so you're not forced into being in the West Europe one as we are today. I'm really excited about this, rolling out more and more features, also privacy related. And as I've said a couple of times, the developer experience is just super important. This is what makes Umbraco stand out already, and we'll continue to invest in this. When it's hard to find new colleagues and it's hard to find developers out there, I know today, then what we can do is to make sure that developers have a good time when they work on Umbraco, so that they won't leave you for a competitor, that it's easy to get started, it's easy to get certified, you can find all the documentation that you need, but also that a lot of the manual tasks are replaced by automation, so that you can be more effective, either as an agency owner making more money, or being able to lower the price and be more competitive in your offering. So a focus from us on developer experience as well is something you will continue to see in the years going forward. And of course, Headless is a big trend out there for us as well. We've chosen to start a new team, and from January we have a dedicated 4-person team that works on Headless in Umbraco, and we're really excited to see where that will go. We have our hardcore offering out there today, and it's already seeing lots of traction with lots of big projects running on it already, and we hope to really grow this area of Umbraco with a new dedicated team. And then, of course, you've probably heard us talk about the DXP, or the best of breed, or composable DXP. There's lots of marketing terms for something as hyped as a DXP. At the end of the day, what the editors want is one place that has a seamless, integrated way of working with all their tools, whether they choose Marketing Engine X or Commerce Engine Y, or whatever automation they want, whatever tools they want an integrated experience, and we think Umbraco is a great, center for this. The central to this is making sure that it makes sense for the integrations out there to be working with Umbraco. Some of this is making sure that there's an attractive platform to work on, so that if you want to run your business exclusively on Umbraco, we give you all the support that we can, whether that will be sales-related stuff, whether it is technical stuff, APIs or services, or something that will help you grow your business. We want to make sure that if you run a product that's not exclusive to Umbraco, that it makes sense for you to build an integration, that there's a high return on investment on that. And that means making it easy, building great APIs, having great documentation, and making it easy to have integrations available. And then making sure that at the end of the day, packages for integrations for most products are available today. And then I want to end with an invitation again to talk to us. We only get smarter when you help us. We only build greater products when you inform us of what you think we need. So talk to me, reach out to Bjarke, any of the people that you know from HQ, Arnold. Come talk to us, tell us about your joys, tell us about your frustrations, and we want to get your feedback. We want to help. We want to build greater products. And with that, I think I will turn it back to you guys in the studio. And to all you participants out there, have a great day. I hope you have a great conference, and I look forward to following along on the stream as well. So see you.
Cool, great session, Philip. Lots of news. I have one question for you too. So I'm running an Umbraco 8 website. I still have to upgrade to 9. You announced 10. What should I do? Should I wait for 10 to come out and then 10.1? Or can I now safely upgrade to 9 and then just press one button and then I'm on 10? So what is the way to do that for this situation?
Yeah, so the short answer is upgrade now. The reason why we want to do the major releases more often is that they can be super small instead of being large and making migrations super hard. So migrating from 9 to 10 or from 10 to 11 or whatever should be pretty similar to what you know from upgrading from Umbraco 10 to Umbraco 15 or something like that. So not, trivial, but something that should be relatively easy and absolutely worth the wait. And then I would say, if you don't want the upgrade to actually go live, I think there is already a branch with Umbraco 10 on GitHub, or I think it will be soon if it's not available yet. So there's also the option of just starting out on that, and then you don't even have to worry about the breaking changes because they're already there.
Perfect. Okay, I will start from next week. I will promise.